This is actually the second part of 3 videos I'm doing on candle magic, and if you've not seen the introduction, it might help you know what candle magic is to me specifically, what my philosophy on candle magic is, what my relationship is to candle and flame. So earlier this week I decided it was time to do a working with candles, and there was a very specific reason. It's been very cold here this winter. Very cold with negative chill factors. That's not usual for this part of the United States. And it has impacted me in challenging ways. I have lupus, and I'm very lucky in that it hasn't handicapped me to a great extent. And in fact, my beliefs and my prayers and my magic work has actually allowed me to live with it fairly comfortably. However, the cold does things to me in the sense of pain in the joints, and in the sense of when I am fatigued from the cold, I start having a little problem processing things, thinking clearly. I get very fatigued, I wear out. Now these things can happen to all of us, lupus or not. They're just taken to a bit of an extreme with lupus. It's almost like those things are magnified. In all honesty, I became weary of being cold. And I decided to do some candle magic for myself with this illustration that the first thing you want to do when you're doing candle magic is know why. Now, I'm not saying that you can't sit down, light a candle, and meditate on the candle and see what comes. Oh, that's glorious. Absolutely. I do that constantly. It's a calming thing. It's a centering thing. It's very primal. It's wonderful. But an act of candle magic has to have an intent. I came into this exercise with candle magic for warming, and I had a perception that I wanted to hold flame internally and feel it move through my body and know that I could nurse it into warmth anytime I wanted to be enveloped by flame from within, almost that feeling. So there was my intent. I didn't want to make it too specifically. I actually wanted the ritual to tell me in the end what it was going to mean, but that's where I started. The first place you start from, if you're not using your candle magic in a meditative sense, is what is your intent. Okay, so in keeping with the power of fire, batteries went out and I'm reloaded and starting again. So I had my intent, some notion of the direction I wanted to go, journaled on it, and then I decided that I usually do candle work anointing the candle, inscribing the candle, having a certain incense going at the time, and working with an aligned stone, because as you know from my other videos, I do work with my stones all the time. So, the process I followed was determining an oil I would want to use, mixing the incense I wanted to use, and determining which stone was going to be my ally in this working. So the beginning is, after I have come up with my intent, is to decide what candle I want to go with that intent. So I will then decide what candle I want to work with. Now, I generally work with the colors of the elements. So they're in my hand, just with that one grab, are the colors of the elements. So I have a little bit of a preparation I actually do with the candle itself. Now, I ended up with red candle. It just felt like what I needed this time. I often work with these small pillar candles. They tend to be the ones I like the best. I like the length of time they last long enough to do what I need to do, but it also gives me the freedom of being able to burn them down and not be waiting for a long, long time. Some workings I do want to wait a long, long time, so a bigger candle comes into play. I do have something that I do ahead of time with each candle. Now, this candle is going to become a candle for this magical working. And as I had mentioned to you in my philosophy of candle magic, there is the candle and then there is the flame. So I want to deal with the candle itself, blessing it and preparing it. It's kind of like you bless and prepare space for ritual. And I do that by using my body. I want to be aligned with this candle. I want the candle, whether I am sending energy out through the flame, or bringing energy down, or centering energy to be ready, to be the blank canvas I wanted and put my intentions on. I align myself in the candle by using first the tactile sense of holding the candle and touching it and just experiencing what it's like. Gives you the opportunity to also do the pragmatic things of making sure the wick isn't too long. If there's a wick at the bottom, is it cut even so you don't have a wobbly candle? It gives you the chance to get to know the candle, everyone slightly differently. But you are experiencing the candle as an entity, as something that exists, as a creation. So I like to get to know the candle just a little bit. I like to warm the candle up with my body warmth and know that I am imbuing it with my warmth, with my essence, with who I am. In a sense, it's my fire, my warmth, what courses through my blood that then warms it and kind of introduces me to it even more. And I blow on the candle. I bring my breath, my air. So you notice so far we have earth, we have fire, and now my air. All I've done is bless it with my air as I turned it. And the last thing I do is I anoint it with my wetness, one of my sacred bodily fluids, so that it knows me. I've farther bonded myself to it. And you do want to make sure that you take right to the tip. Yes, I'm spitting on my candle, but spit is a sacred bodily fluid. It's a bond. This candle knows me. A candle is now something that I know, it knows me, and it has been set aside for this specific working. Okay, so now I'm at my work table and I'm going to prepare for the magic I want to do by coming up with an oil to use and mixing incense and deciding what stone I'm going to work aligned with. And as you know, if you're following me at all, everything starts with Sophia for me, so my crystal ball must be present in everything I do, so she joins right from the beginning. And I spent some time deciding what stone I wanted to align with, and in light of the need for warming, I decided to work with, surprise, surprise, sunstone. So what I have is sunstone to work with. I also have the candle that I have already blessed for use, ready to go. That's going to be part of my little group of witnesses as I create the incense that I'm going to use. Okay, so I'm ready to put together incense. Now, very often for me, incense, when it comes to candle magic, starts with my deciding what oil I'm going to use. I don't tend to mix oils to use for candle magic, anointing candles. I tend to go for a scent that I really, really feel like the magic needs, and I'm using cinnamon leaf in this particular mix. So that is the feel of the scent that I'm going to use for this. Now for all of my magics I start with lavender, and that is me. It is just something that I do. I always add lavender to the mix. It's the place I begin with. I use bowls over and over again, and I actually do not spend a lot of time cleaning them in between. I like the essence of scent, of power from mixing over and over again, and so that is what I will use the lavender for, is the feeling of mixing and incorporating anything that's left in this from the energy of what I created last. Oh, I decided I wanted to use medium and high notes. I didn't want to use any heavy resins or any of the deeper of the bass notes, and that's against my nature. I tend to want to use heavy notes for everything, and I'm a patchouli and myrrh and musk kind of person. I'm going to put some thyme in here. Why did I use thyme? Because I encourage you to think whenever you make sense, why are you picking something. Make sense of your incense. There can be value to blending things just because they smell good and they make you feel good for meditation purposes. But when you are working incense for magic, know why you are putting it in. Time to me is the age aspect of fire and warmth. I am adding anise. Anise to me is all about the heat, the spark, I don't want to say the spiciness, but the zest of that aspect of flame. It's kind of like the spark aspect of flame. Notice I am not mixing these as I go. In this particular instance, I do not want to mix as I go. Sometimes I'm called as I add each one to mix. This one, I want all the ingredients there, then I will mix them and see how it feels. Sometimes it's good to mix as you go. Other times you really truly want to add and then mix. Usually I don't mix as I go when I feel like I'm putting in very specific representations, and I have the wisdom of fire there, and I have the spark of fire there. And as my base, I'm going to use sandalwood. This is red sandalwood, so it's not the endangered sandalwood. I do need something that's got something that roots that flame, that keeps it grounded, and sandalwood is a base incense, and at the same time light enough to, when I want the spark essence of flame, rather than the devouring essence of flame, sandalwood is a good mix. And lastly, I am adding pine. Now the reason I am adding pine is specifically because what I do not want from this working is I want feeling warm and I want feeling invigorated, but I do not want to rush the season. Pine to me is reminding me that there is warmth within the season we're living in. Very important for me because especially when it comes to dealing with the winter doldrums kind of things, you can be rushing the season, and that is not what we want to be doing. So now you can see the benefit of, in this case, I did not mix as I went, and I really have a balance of those four things. I can see them, I can appreciate them, I can think about that. So first I want to blend it with my essence, really, just my direction of the energy. I know what I am mixing and blending here. If you remember, it was about wisdom and spark and zest, all living within the continuing spirit of winter. And I know that. That is what I have put into this. I have made that so. This particular incense is not going to have any oils in it. I don't like to put oils into all my incenses. They do tend to dampen it down, and I do like to work with the botanicals themselves. I also don't like putting resins or fluids into incense that I am using with firework. It always feels like it's smothering, so I like to keep the incense light. Okay, so we have the incense I have put together for this. Now I will do two things with this incense. It will be what I burn at my ritual. It's what I burned last night, was something similar to this. Just so you know, last night when I decided this would be the incense I used, when I made it, of course, I test burn it to see if it was what I wanted, and it was. So you're not seeing me fiddle or add something or play with it because I liked what it did, so it is what it is. And the next step would be to add to it if I felt something needed to be added, and I didn't need that last night, so this is exactly how it ended up last night. Now I have a small spell bag here. Interesting that we recently talked on Pagan Perspective about mojo bags, and there are some similarities and lots of differences between that and a spell bag. And for me, this little spell bag is going to be nothing more than sunstone, and some of the herbal mixture that I just made. Now that will stay on my altar. as it did last night. This is actually, I redid what I already did last night. It stays on my altar. What this permits me to do then is, after this working is done, anytime I want to revisit it until I'm ready to take on something new as a focus, all I have to do is go to my altar and open this bag up and inhale. And the power of the sunstone will be there because it was present during the working, and the power of the herbs. And then it's just a matter of placing the incense in my container. I like these little flat snuff containers because they're easy to pinch incense out of without having to use a spoon or dig or fiddle on the altar. So they are my preference for how I store these small batches of incense. So I will be taking my incense and storing it here. That takes care of the oil decision, which came to me quickly as cinnamon, with the mixing of the herbs and the why of the herbs, and the creation of the small herbal bag, herbal sachet with the sunstone in it, which will be on my altar and available for me going forward. Okay, so we see that I do a little bit of preparation. I got to know this candle well, and I blessed it with my essence. I decided what stone I was going to work with. Decided what oil I was going to work with. Decided what herbs were going to be in my mix, created my incense, and my little spell bag with the small sunstone in it. So it looks like, okay, we have to have those things to do candle magic. The truth is, we absolutely do not have to have those things. This is all you need to do candle magic. I really, really believe that. I like the preparation. I'm very scent-focused and need incense. I love anointing candles. It just gets me there. Anointing candles is as much about getting you there as it is about what happens to the candle. This is all you need. Blessing the candle with your essence, as I showed you, makes it fully anointed and prepared for the work you're going to do. You can also use something as simple as olive oil for your anointing oil if you don't have or can't afford to purchase oils. And oregano and cinnamon, or something you can find in your cabinet. You can make incenses out of that. You do not have to have a collection of herbs and spend money on any of this. But I still say that the only thing that you need is your desire and a candle, any kind of candle. Okay, so let's talk about anointing candles. Now, I have my way of anointing candles, and it's just the way I've come to over the years. I think it may have been what I was taught, but I don't recall for sure. I dress candles according to what I want in the way of energy from them. And I do that by making sure that that smells so good. It's that beautiful cinnamon leaf. Smells good. And I dress candles according to the need, according to how I'm going to use them. In this particular instance, remember in my magical philosophy, the candle is the core, the energetic core, which is the me in the candle magic, what I want of the spell. If I wanted to manifest and send out from candle work, I would send out from the base up and out. If I wanted to draw, it would be from the flame down to the base. In this particular instance, my magic goal was to center the warmth in my being, in my solar plexus, and to infuse myself with that energy. I want the energy represented by the column of energy of the candle to be mid. So what I am doing in this case is I am going to take energy from the base of the candle, which I'm putting oil on it, and then I just turn the candle clockwise up to the middle. And then I want to make sure I've got plenty of oil on my hand. This is a used candle I'm using as demonstration, so the wick doesn't absorb the oil but would if it were a fresh candle. And then I want to take clockwise down to the center of the candle. And then I want to focus by turning it around that is the aim of my magic, to be focused on my core, a drawing up and a drawing down and a gathering in of the energy of fire. Now you'll see people who bathe their candles and wash them. They're dripping in oil by the time they're done. I find nothing wrong with that. But I have always spiraled up spiraled down or spiraled to the middle in the way that I dress my candles. Now I will also then inscribe my candles. You may inscribe actual words or names. You may inscribe symbols. I actually spent a good part of my earlier candle working years inscribing runes on my candles. Almost always that's what I would do. I have had the difficulty as I've gotten older that my hands won't work with something as fine as that. I don't have enough motor control, in part because of the lupus. When I'm working on a large candle, I have the freedom of drawing and inscribing and placing any symbol I want. Working with these small candles, which is actually my preference, I don't quite have the freedom of doing that. So what I will do, I use a inscribing tool, and this is my favorite tool to use. This set came with different sizes, which you can use according to what you're inscribing. For these little candles, this little thing here works perfect. And this was a splurge that I actually got an official piece of tool that could be used for this, that you could as well use. A bobby pin works really great. What really works great is opening up a heavy-duty paper clip. Opening up so you have a straight point coming out of it. That works absolutely fantastic. Safety pins work. Nut pickers work. Skewers that you use for meat work. So there's no need to buy anything. But I'm lucky that I have these tools because they have actually been quite fine for me. I like it. Now, the same way for me, inscribing on these small candles, it no longer can I do like symbols and things. I can't work that small. I can't do it anymore. I want to, but I can't. So I inscribe candles the same way that I anoint them. If I wanted to do nothing but send the energy of this candle out, I would be inscribing around and around and around and around to up. If I wanted to draw, I would be inscribing around and around and around and around to down. And in this case, I want to, shall we say, meet in the middle. That is how I would want to inscribe this candle. I've not been able to come up with a way to hold this for the camera because I'm finding the positions are too awkward to hold the candle and to get this done for you. So I hope that you will use your imagination, that I would inscribe it around and around. I need more hands than I've got with the camera situation. So around and around and up and up and up. And I would be stopping mid-level because that is the way that I want this magic to go. And I would be coming down and down. This is very awkward, so forgive me, but I think you can get the idea of what I'm doing and why. And down and down and down until I meet the spiral that I brought up. And since I am working on core, I will draw 3 lines around the middle. Again, it's just my way of doing things, that I am working from the center on this working, gathering in and holding the working. I am not taking it all the way down. I am not releasing it all the way. So this is how I scribe candles. I am consistent in the style in which I scribe candles. Scribing up to release, scribing down to take in, and doing up, down, and banding the middle when I want to hold something at the core. That'll show you, klutzy as it is with the camera angles, how I inscribe a candle. Okay, here's my altar set up to begin this spell work, so I'm duplicating what I did last night for you. Not doing the spell in reality tonight for you. I think we all know that things need to be kept private during those actual workings, but to give you a little bit of a sense of how I did the ritual last night. I think you're familiar with my altar to know that it is grounded by the statues of God and Goddess as I know them. The candles at the foot of her are the God and Goddess candles. My bell's in front of there. Sophia, my ball, who attends all of my workings, and the candle that I'm doing the magic with, which sits on my paten, as you can see. I call Hestia at all of my workings, so she and her candle are there. And the working area that is specific to this rite is here. And it holds the charcoal that is ready, the incense you saw me make, the sunstone sphere, the oil, the cinnamon oil I'm going to use, and the inscribing tool. And that is the way that it will be set up as a working altar for this specific ritual.